Looking back, I never thought my life as a hard-nosed reporter would lead me to a showdown with a ghost HOA in the middle of nowhere, but here we are, and man, what a ride it was. I'd spent over 2 decades chasing down crooked politicians and shady deals in the city, until this one massive scandal involving a mayor and kickbacks from developers just burned me out completely, left me staring at walls, questioning everything. So, I cashed out, bought this charming old timber cabin from the 1800s nestled by a quiet river in the Whispering Pines area, remote, peaceful, no neighbors breathing down my neck, and I made damn sure there was no homeowners association involved, double-checked with the estate folks who sold it after the old owner, Elias Thorne, passed away. At first, it was pure bliss. Me and my loyal mutt, Buddy, just kicking back fishing at dawn, scribbling away at this half-baked novel I'd always dreamed of writing. No deadlines, no drama. The cabin had this rustic vibe, creaky floors and all, and I'd wake up to birdsong instead of sirens. It felt like I'd finally escaped the rat race, breathing easy for the first time in years. But then, out of the blue, this letter shows up in my mailbox from something called the Riverbend Harmony Homeowners Association, citing me for unauthorized landscaping because my wildflower patch wasn't up to code, slapping on a $500 fine like it was nothing. I chuckled at first, thinking it was a mix-up, maybe some bored bureaucrat got the wrong address, but when I dug in, alarm bells started ringing. No record of this HOA anywhere. Their website looked like it was slapped together in a hurry. Contact number went straight to voicemail. No callbacks. The notices kept coming, escalating faster than I could keep up, fines jumping to $2,000 for nonsense like my truck's color clashing with community aesthetics, demands for mandatory meetings, even threats of liens if I didn't comply. I felt this knot in my gut, that old journalist instinct kicking in, whispering that something was rotten here, but I tried to brush it off, focus on my new life. Then came the invite to their so-called annual meeting at this dingy community hall down the road, and curiosity got the better of me. Showed up, and what I saw. It was like stepping into a bad dream. A room full of mostly elderly folks, all looking scared out of their wits, fidgeting in their seats, and the setup was amateur hour. Folding tables, a flickering projector, no official badges or anything. That's when I met her, Victoria Langford, strutting in like she owned the place. This sharp-dressed woman in her 50s with a clipboard and a smirk that could curdle milk, introducing herself as the HOA president. She launched into this spiel laced with legalese, talking covenants and bylaws like she was reading from a script, but her eyes, they had this predatory glint. I waited my turn, then stood up, calm as I could, and laid out my evidence. County records showing my property was exempt. No HOA ever registered for miles around. This is all a mistake or worse, I said, holding up the papers. She just waved it off, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. Oh, Mr. Harper, you must be new here. These rules apply to everyone for the greater good. And then, bam, she announces I've racked up $15,000 in fines already, with foreclosure proceedings if I don't pay up. The room went dead silent. Folks avoided my eyes, like they knew better than to challenge her. Afterward, as I stormed out, this older guy, Tom Reynolds, turns out pulled me aside in the parking lot, glancing over his shoulder like we were in a spy movie. "Don't fight it, son," he whispered, his hands shaking a bit. "I've paid her thousands, already thought it was real at first, but now, I'm too scared to stop. She's got ways of making life hell." That hit me hard. Tom was a widower, living on a fixed income, and he'd been bled dry over violations that didn't make sense. It fueled this fire in me, target isolated folks like us. Later, digging deeper, I uncovered Victoria's real name, Serena Voss, with a rap sheet a mile-long, arrests for fraud schemes, impersonating officials, even tied to a case where a desperate victim took their own life after losing everything. It wasn't just greed. She preyed on vulnerability, twisting community trust into a weapon, maybe stemming from her own bitter past in a real HOA that kicked her family out years ago, leaving scars that turned her into this manipulator. Things ramped up quick. Surveillance cars idling outside my cabin at night, anonymous calls breathing heavy into the phone, letters with my social security number scribbled in, hinting they knew my routines. I started sleeping with a baseball bat by the bed, Buddy growling at shadows, and one day I pieced together she was running multiple fake HOAs across the state, targeting remote properties where owners were too spread out to compare notes. I reached out to others like Elena Vargas, this feisty grandma who'd lost her savings to similar scams, and we swapped stories over encrypted emails, building a file of evidence, forged documents, wire transfers to shell accounts. But the pressure mounted, daily threats now, fines ballooning to $30,000, riddled with legal typos that screamed amateur. Then the hammer dropped. They changed my locks with bogus seizure papers, these burly asset recovery guys showing up, smirking as they barred the door. Court order, pal, pay up or say goodbye. One growled, shoving fake docs in my face. The sheriff? Useless, said it was a civil matter, hands tied. I spent that night in my truck with Buddy, rain pounding the roof, staring at the cabin I'd poured my heart into, wondering if I should just cut my losses, sell out, move on. But then Buddy nuzzled my hand, and I remembered an old article I'd written about everyday folks fighting back against corruption. It reignited that spark. No way was I letting this con artist win. I had skills, damn it, time to use them. I dove in head first, uncovering how she'd stolen Elias Thorne's identity, post-mortem intercepted mail, forged signatures to enroll properties she had no claim to. That's when I connected with Miriam Hale, a retired paralegal in a nearby assisted living home, sharp as a tack despite her age. Her daughter Sophie helped sneak me in for chats. Miriam's eyes lit up when I showed her the docs. This is textbook fraud. Alex, we've got her. We rallied a secret meeting with victims Tom, Elena, a dozen others in a backwoods diner, sharing tales that totaled over $80,000 stolen, tears and anger mixing as folks opened up about ruined retirements, strained families. One guy, a vet named Carlos, confessed he'd almost lost his home over it. His voice cracking, she made me doubt my own sanity. We looped in Marcus Hale, Miriam's nephew, a bulldog attorney who linked us to an ongoing FBI probe. I even tipped off Laura Bennett, a former colleague in the media, for some public heat. But Victoria Serenat didn't back down. She escalated, slapping fake evictions on everyone, even an emergency court order demanding my $30,000 or else. Paranoia crept in. Leaks in our group? Someone feeding her info? Court day was electric, the small-town courtroom packed, tension thick as fog. Serena sat there poised, her lawyer flashing sophisticated forgeries that almost looked legit, covenants signed by Elias years back. I presented my stack, records, victim affidavits, her criminal history. The judge recessed, looking doubtful, and my heart sank. Was this it, my new life crumbling? But then, dramatic as hell, the doors burst open. Elias Thorne's son, who'd flown in after I tracked him down, marching forward with ironclad proof of identity theft, original deeds, DNA links, the works. That's my father's signature? Bullets of forgery, he thundered, pointing at Serena, who went pale, her composure cracking like cheap glass. The judge slammed the gavel. Claims dismissed on the spot. And in walks FBI agent Ramirez, badge gleaming, cuffing Serena right there. Serena Voss, you're under arrest for federal wire fraud, identity theft, racketeering. The room erupted, victims cheering, her glaring daggers at me as she's dragged out, muttering, "You'll regret this. Harper, you have no idea who you're messing with." The Fed investigation blew it wide open. Her network spanned states, over 400 victims, $2.8 million siphoned over 8 years through fake associations, all tied to a web of accomplices. Trial was a spectacle, evidence piled high. Testimonies gut-wrenching, secret recordings of her boasting about easy marks. One video surfaced mysteriously, hinting at ties to bigger fish, maybe corrupt officials she'd blackmailed, but it vanished quick. Guilty on 227 counts anyway. Sentence, 20 years, full restitution. Her crew got slapped too. In the aftermath, assets seized meant $3.3 million back to us, plus compensations that eased the pain. I snagged a $50,000 FBI reward, turned the saga into a book deal worth $200,000, even speaking gigs sharing the tale. It sparked changes. New state laws cracking down on HOA fraud, better detection tools, awareness drives saving others from similar traps. Personally, I rediscovered my fire for journalism, started a support group for victims, turned that cabin into a real home base. But vigilance never stops. A suspicious letter popped up last month, echoing her style. Makes you wonder if copycats are out there, or if her connections are stirring. And here's the thing that still nags at Mua's: she just a lone wolf driven by revenge on a system that broke her, or part of something deeper, where justice feels incomplete. What do you think? Did we get full closure, or is there more rot in these community setups? Drop a comment below. Share if you've faced HOA hell, who's right or wrong in these power plays, or how we'd fix community conflicts without turning toxic. Hit like if this hit home, subscribe for more real-life twists, and let's chat. Your stories might just spark the next big reveal.